You are swimming in the ocean. The water is deep and dark beneath you. And then, without warning, something appears. Sleek, fast, impossibly aware, it circles you once. It looks you directly in the eye. And then it stays. Not because it has to, not because you fed it, not because it was trained. It chose to be there. And that choice, that single, voluntary, inexplicable choice, is one of the strangest and most revealing things that happens anywhere in the natural world. This is not a story about dolphins. It is a story about what dolphins know about you that you have forgotten about yourself. Start with a number, 95 million years. That is roughly when the ancestors of dolphins made one of the most dramatic decisions in evolutionary history. They left the land. They walked back into the ocean. Slowly, over millions of years, their legs became flippers. Their nostrils migrated to the tops of their heads. Their bodies became hydrodynamic and fast. They gave up everything the land offered. And they thrived. But they kept something that land life had given them and the ocean had no reason to maintain. They kept their brains. Not just any brains. Extraordinarily large, extraordinarily complex brains with a neocortex, the part responsible for conscious thought, social processing, and emotional intelligence that rivals anything walking on land today. Lori Marino, a neurobiologist at Emory University who has spent decades studying cetacean cognition, argues that dolphin brains are not simply large. They are organized for complexity in a way that parallels human brain architecture in striking and deeply uncomfortable ways. Uncomfortable because it means that when a dolphin looks at you, something is home, something is processing, something is deciding, and what it decides, again and again, across thousands of documented encounters on every ocean on Earth, is to come closer. Here is what makes that remarkable. Dolphins have no evolutionary reason to approach humans. None. You are not prey. You are not a threat most of the time. You are not part of their social structure. You offer nothing they need. In the cold logic of natural selection, a wild dolphin that wastes energy on a strange land mammal flopping around in the water is a dolphin making a mistake. And yet they do it. They do it consistently, voluntarily, and with what can only be described as curiosity. Not hunger, not fear. Curiosity. In 2016, a team of marine biologists studying wild bottlenose dolphins off the coast of Western Australia documented something that stopped the research community cold. A group of dolphins had been observed over multiple years, repeatedly initiating contact with human swimmers, not responding to humans, initiating, approaching from distance, slowing, making eye contact. In several cases, staying alongside individual swimmers for extended periods, sometimes over an hour, before choosing to leave. The researchers noted that these were not habituated animals. They had not been fed. They had not been conditioned. They simply kept coming back. Why? To understand the answer, you have to go back much further than dolphins. You have to go back to the moment when social intelligence became the most powerful survival tool on Earth. For most of animal history, survival was simple in concept and brutal in execution. You were faster or you were eaten. You were stronger or you starved. Individual physical capacity was everything. But somewhere around 50 million years ago, something shifted in a small set of mammalian lineages. Social coordination began to outperform individual strength. Groups that could communicate, cooperate, and predict each other's behavior started surviving situations that no individual could survive alone. And the brain, which is metabolically expensive and slow to develop, began to be worth the cost. Because the most complex environment any animal would ever have to navigate was not the forest or the ocean. It was other minds. Robin Dunbar, an evolutionary psychologist at Oxford University, calls this the social brain hypothesis. The idea is elegant and radical. Brain size in social mammals did not evolve primarily to solve problems in the physical world. It evolved to solve problems in the social world, to track relationships, to model intentions, to predict behavior, to remember who did what to whom and when. Your large brain and the dolphin's large brain may both be the products of the same ancient pressure, the need to understand other minds. And here is where it gets strange. Because dolphins did not just evolve large social brains, they evolved large social brains in an environment, which means dolphins evolved cognitive machinery for social complexity that, in their world, is almost entirely without peer. Until humans showed up, think about what a human represents to a dolphin encountering one for the first time. You are strange. You are slow in the water. You are clearly not adapted to the ocean environment. But you are doing something the dolphin has almost never encountered in the sea. You are looking back, not with the blank reactive gaze of a fish, with something behind your eyes, with attention, with curiosity that mirrors their own, with the unmistakable signal legible across the entire history of social mammal evolution that something is home. Diana Reiss, a cognitive psychologist at Hunter College who has conducted some of the most rigorous research into dolphin cognition, demonstrated in a landmark 1994 study that bottlenose dolphins could recognize themselves in mirrors. One of only a handful of species on Earth capable of this feat. Self-recognition is not a party trick. It is evidence of a theory of mind, the understanding that you exist as a separate entity from the world around you, that you have a perspective that others do not share, and that other beings have perspectives of their own. Dolphins know they are individuals. They know you are an individual, and they find that interesting. But it goes deeper than curiosity, much deeper. Dolphins live in what researchers call fission-fusion societies. Their social groups are not fixed. They split and merge constantly, with individuals moving between groups, forming alliances, maintaining long-term relationships across years and sometimes decades. Louis Herman, a comparative psychologist at the University of Hawaii who studied dolphin cognition for over 30 years, documented dolphins maintaining recognizable relationships with specific humans across gaps of more than 5 years, remembering individual voices, individual behaviors, individual interaction styles with a precision that suggests something more than simple association. They were tracking a relationship. They were maintaining a social bond with a creature from an entirely different world. That is not instinct. That is not conditioning. That is choice sustained across time. And the choice reveals something about the nature of intelligence itself. Because true cognitive complexity, the kind that produces language, culture, grief, play, and art, does not exist in isolation. It requires an audience. It requires other minds to push against, to model, to be surprised by. Dolphins in the wild play elaborate games. They teach their young. They mourn their dead. They communicate with signature whistles, individual names essentially, that they use to address specific members of their group. They have culture, behaviors that are learned and transmitted socially rather than genetically, including tool use, hunting techniques, and play behaviors that vary from population to population. In other words, they have everything that social intelligence is supposed to produce. Except in the ocean, they have almost no one to share it with at the level it deserves. And then you arrive. This is the theory that a growing number of marine biologists and cognitive scientists are beginning to take seriously. The reason dolphins choose humans is not random. It is not trained behavior generalized to the wild. It is something far more specific. Dolphins may be drawn to humans because humans are, in the cold logic of cognitive recognition, the most interesting thing they have ever encountered in the water. Not the most useful, not the most dangerous, the most interesting, the most reciprocal, the most legible as a mind. Consider what happens in a documented wild dolphin encounter from the perspective of the dolphin. A strange creature enters the water. It is slow. It makes unfamiliar sounds. But then, it responds. It changes its behavior in reaction to the dolphin's behavior. It tracks the dolphin's movements with its eyes. It makes sounds in a pattern that has the rhythmic structure of communication. It is in every cognitive signal the dolphin knows how to read, trying to interact. This is extraordinarily rare in the ocean. Fish do not try to interact. Squid do not try to interact. The ocean, for all its abundance, is largely a world of creatures operating on pure instinct and reactive survival logic. A creature that looks back, that responds, that seems to be modeling the dolphin's own behavior. This is something the dolphin's brain was built for and almost never gets to use at full capacity. And so it comes closer. And it stays. There is a final piece to this puzzle that almost no one talks about. Play. Dolphins play more than almost any other wild animal on Earth. They surf waves for no survival reason. They toss objects. They engage in mock battles. They cooperate in games that have no outcome except the game itself. Play in evolutionary terms is a cognitive signal. It is what a brain does when it has more capacity than immediate survival requires. It is intelligence looking for exercise. When dolphins play with humans, and they do, repeatedly, voluntarily, enthusiastically, they are not performing. They are not confused. They are doing what large-brain social creatures do when they find another large-brain social creature willing to engage. They explore the edge of what is possible between two minds. You have spent your entire life in a world built for and by minds like yours. You have forgotten what it feels like to be recognized across the barrier of species, across the barrier of environment, across the barrier of 50 million years of separate evolutionary history. You have forgotten what it means to be seen by something that had absolutely no reason to look and looked anyway. The next time you are in the water and something approaches from the dark, sleek, fast, impossibly aware, and it circles you once and looks you in the eye and stays, understand what is actually happening. An ancient mind built by the same evolutionary pressures that built yours, shaped by the same deep need to find another mind worth knowing as found one. It chose you. Not randomly, not blindly, with everything it had.